everybody. So we're gonna, so thank you everybody so much for attending. This is Growing E-commerce Sales with Email Automation. I just want to do a quick test while we wait for people to join. If you could just let me know if you're hearing me, hearing my audio and video clearly in the chat, and just maybe say hi and maybe tell us where you're calling in from. And we're gonna just wait for just another minute or two as people join in. Do that. And then while we do that, I am going to share the handout. This is your workbook for the session. And if you want to use this, this will allow you to basically, if you download it and print it out, this will allow you to take your own notes. Anything, and this is really where you're going to get a lot of the value of the session by putting your own notes and your own ideas, because you're the one that knows your business best and how we can help you. So this is a great thing just to open it up and have that. And so I see Serge joined and Leah. Hi, Leah. Jessica joined from Glendale. Okay, the audio seems a little bit rough, but okay, I will try to stand a little bit closer and see if we can do anything to increase that. So now I am going to share our presentation. Okay, and we're going to wait one more minute for people to join, and then we will start going. So let's see who's in. As people come in, please say hi in the chat. Just let me know you're there, and let me know, how the audio is doing. Okay, I just saw one other person come in, and I'll wait one more minute here. If you haven't already introduced yourself in the chat, just say, what your company is, or where you're from, or what you're hoping to learn today, or anything you want to say. Okay. Okay. So one more second here, and then we're going to get going. And we have now 10 people. I just just one. So, all right. Okay. So now let's go ahead and start with the webinar presentation. And if you're just joining, you can download in the handouts the section to follow along with us. So, what we're going to cover today. This is going to be a super fast, kind of high density session, because I'm trying to give you guys as much value as possible for your time, because we really appreciate your time. We don't want to waste it. And so this is going to be kind of the lightning round. But if you want, anything more in depth, there is going to be a scheduling link. And so, if at any time you want to, schedule something to talk to us more in depth about your particular situation, we are, happy to do that. Okay. So, let's continue. So we're going to talk about who this is for. We're going to tell you a little bit about us, why to do email marketing, what's specifically different about e-commerce email marketing, the customer journey, when should you email, what type of emails make the most money, the top 5 most valuable email automations, how to get customer emails, recommendation systems, and then there's even more stuff that I didn't have time because I was literally editing right to the last second. And if at any time you guys have questions, please just throw those in the chat. I want this to be very interactive and deliver to you as much value as possible. So let's continue. website, you have like 5K visitors a month, you're on some sort of cart system, either you're doing email marketing now or you've never done email marketing and you're looking to drive more revenue. So the typical person this is most valuable for is at the smaller end, it's usually owner. At the larger end, it's kind of the marketing manager, IT director, that type of thing. So the first thing we want to do is, this is just a kind of level set, so we want to make this super interactive. I want you guys to guess how much of your total revenue you can make from email marketing. And it's actually going to show some examples, and then I'll kind of talk about it. So just take a minute here and put in your answers, and then we will discuss it. And so the choice is anywhere from 5 to 10 to 20%. Okay, so one more second here. Does anyone else want to answer? Okay, we have a couple of answers. I'm going to give another minute or two. And so far, the biggest answer is 10%. Okay, one more sec. Anyone else? Okay. So what we've seen is that most of you think 3 people said 10%, 1 person said 20, and then 2 said 30 and 2 said 40. So actually, if you do email properly in e-commerce, you can make between 30 and 50% of your total revenue from email, just from email. And you think about that compared to advertising and compared to what you might pay in Amazon or Facebook ads, it's an amazingly good deal. So you can actually make between 30 and 50% of your revenue from email. Okay, let's continue. So about us. We've been doing this for over 10 years. We're exclusively focused on e-commerce email. We've worked with a bunch of national brands and worked with all sorts of cards. So why should you do email marketing? It's the best ROI of any marketing channel you're going to have. Also, in the new iOS world, when it's very hard to get third-party data, having first-party data is super important, and you really want to maximize the first-party data. What first-party data is basically you have a direct one-to-one relationship with your customers where you have their email and all their sort of browsing and purchasing behavior, and you're able to measure the results like really precisely and then market them. So what's different about e-commerce email marketing versus like other email marketing you've seen? A lot of it is automated, and in those automations, it's personalized and relevant, meaning those emails have sort of key insights about what that person was doing on your website. And so the idea here is to have like having a master salesman who says something like, hey, I saw you looking at that. Do you like it? Do you have any questions about it? What do you think about this and this if you don't like that? You are able to get that level of knowledge. And if you're not doing that, we're going to show you how. I want you to keep throwing. I really love the questions and everything that's coming through in the chat. I'm going to try to answer those. So please keep them coming. And tell me more about your, I'm just going to ask you to throw something in chat now. If there is a specific question you would like to get answered in this session, throw it in the chat. And I will try to get to it in the chat. Okay, so when should you email? So this is the whole funnel, right, of your customers. 100% of your visitors visit the website, right? Maybe 1% of them actually purchase, maybe 2 or 3 if you're really killing it. Between that, you have the different levels. 5% maybe add to cart, more like 3 to 5%. But then maybe somewhere between 50 to 70 to 95% view products. This is really the target, that this is the biggest people that are possibly in market. This is where you want to focus on. And most of the traditional systems don't focus on it. If you're just focusing on add to cart, you're missing where most of the action is. Okay, so this is the next quiz question. we have 2 emails. I want you to tell me which one generated more sales. And so we're going to pop that up. Okay, so go ahead. The first one says, these guys sell motorcycle parts. So the first one is hottest accessories right now for your 2022 Goldwing. Click here to see the list. It's a pretty cool graphic. The second one is like, frankly, not that well designed. They're like, oh, we saw you looking at this thing. You know, did you find what you're looking for? Blah, blah, blah. Thanks. Bye now. It looks kind of basic. And then at the bottom, you have like, hey, recommended for you. Here's some other stuff. So take a minute and then let me know which one you think generated more and why. Tell me that in the chat. I would be super curious to hear your thoughts. Okay, so I'm going to take one more minute. One more sec. We have 8 answers total. Only half of you guys. I know the other half wants to participate. Go and throw in your answers. It is super important to let me know that you're kind of active and engaged. And for you to really get the most value out of this, you have to participate. Don't just sit there. You're going to learn more if you're more active. Okay, so here we go. We got 10 answers total. Let's go to the next slide. So B is the winner. B is the winner by a lot. So let's talk about what's unusual, because maybe you guessed this. Maybe you're like, hey, Russell, I know what's up. I know automation is better. But the stats are really amazing here, because this email was viewed by 16,000 people, almost 17. This email was only viewed by, less than a quarter of that, only 2,500 people. So that's pretty crazy. But why did B win? B is super personalized. This person obviously looked at this, and we're talking to them exactly about that, and we're making these other product recommendations based on this thing, right? So this is like the really smart salesman. This is more like a postcard. The difference is just staggering here. So for 16,000 people, we made 17K. For 2,500 people, we made almost 90K. 65 orders versus 234, 0.4% conversion rate versus 9% conversion rate. So really interesting to kind of see the difference there and what sort of impact a system like this where you're personalized can make. Let's keep going. Okay, so lessons learned. Your email should show customers products they've looked at already. When should you email them? When they have looked at a product and not purchased. And notice I said looked, because that's up funnel earlier than already added to cart, which is much, much later in the process. And that's what we call an event or a trigger. So that's kind of when we should be talking to them. Okay, I realize for some of you this is going to be old hat. For some of you this is going to be brand new. So please, I'm trying to kind of balance both. But please keep throwing your questions in, and we will definitely get to them. So this is an example of a workflow. So I'm just going to walk you through it. Someone looks at a cart. We wait 30 minutes. We send an email. Hey, this is a man cart finder. Do they purchase? Yes or no? If they don't purchase, we're going to wait another day. We're going to send them a reminder. And then if they don't purchase, we're going to wait 5 days and then send them a reminder. Now, you may say, like, oh, are we irritating them? No. Because actually the open rate on these emails is between 30 and 50%. It's huge. So these are definitely not irritating. These are actually really helpful to your customers because they've already shown interest in this. The great thing is we set this up once and then it always works. And the best practice is we do need to give our customers 2 to 3 chances to buy. The unsubscribe rate is usually 1% or less. So 99% of the time they love this stuff. This is very helpful for them. They don't not want to get communications about this. Okay, so what sort of automations do you set up? We have over 10 years of experience. These 5 sequences are where you're going to make most of your money. A welcome series is when someone signs up initially on your website, that first couple of series to introduce your store, what you're about, your return policy, what sets you apart, all one is a product view. It's also called a product abandonment view. So if someone looks at a product and never adds it to cart, they're going to get this sequence. Abandoned cart, you're probably familiar with. This is when they add to cart, but they don't buy. And then the last one is post-purchase, which is after they buy something, what do we do as kind of follow-on communications? And then this one is if they do a search in your search box, how do we interact with them after that search? Okay, so time for another quiz. And we're going to pull that up. So which one has the highest revenue? Which one will make your store the most revenue based on this? And so one person said category browse, one person said product view. In the chat, I want you to tell me why. Tell me why you picked that answer. So a lot of people are saying abandoned cart. One person said category browse. Interestingly, no one said welcome series yet. Okay, it's evening out. 2 people said product view. 1 person said search. All right, we have a little over half the audience. I'm going to wait just another minute. Guys, if you don't participate, you're not getting most of the value out. It's really important to take a guess and then write down in the chat, tell me why you chose what you chose. Like, just give me like a line or two. Why did you decide to do this one? Okay, 1 more second. Abandoned cart seems to be the winner. Tell me why. Okay, got a good answer from Leah. Abandoned cart, they'll be reminded and purchased it. Good question. Okay, any more? Okay, so let's reveal. Jessica says search because that is the active role a customer takes. They're on the site actively looking for something intending to buy. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, but Mia says because they are lower in the funnel. That makes a lot of sense too. Okay, so let's see the answer. The answer is actually product view. Product view, in our experience, generates the most revenue out of any of these. Now, it's not because product view has the highest conversion rate. It doesn't. Abandoned cart actually has the highest conversion rate. But product view generates the most revenue because it has the highest numbers. So it has a decent conversion rate, but 5 times or more as many people will view a product as will add to cart. So your product view actually ends up making you the most total revenue in most cases. And so it's, and then just the order of these, usually the leaders are in order: product, welcome, then abandoned cart, post-purchase, and search. If you were to ask me which has the highest conversion rate, what would you say? Just type that in. Anyone? Which one has the highest conversion rate? Okay, the one that has the highest conversion rate is actually abandoned cart. They're the closest. They've already made all their thoughts, and that's where you're going to have the highest conversion rate. But you really want to do these others to make the most money. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so how should you get customer emails? Because that's how we're going to do all this stuff. The number one way to get customer emails is with pop-ups. And when you give someone a pop-up, you need to give them a reason to go with your system. So there are 2 main reasons that you're going to use. You're going to either have a coupon code or a buyer's guide. If you or your boss or whatever is okay with a discount, go with that discount. The money you will make will far outweigh the money you will lose on margin. Far outweigh over the lifetime value. Okay. On the other hand, if you have put time and resources and you have a product that's a little bit difficult to understand, then a buyer's guide is fantastic. So if you look at this bottom one, this is the rookie's guide to buying an engagement ring. A lot of times, a man might be looking for an engagement ring for his fiance and have no understanding of engagement rings. And so he might really appreciate, something like this. What does this do for your brand? the education element builds trust with the consumer, right? You're basically giving away free helpful information that builds a lot of value. So either one of these will do good. What should your bogey be? Okay, so in chat, tell me what you think a good conversion rate is on these pop-ups. So out of every 100 people that see a pop-up, how many people should put in their email? Would you say, 0.1, 1, 2, 3? Yes, Jessica is correct. You want to be getting, at least 3% conversion rate on these pop-ups. If you're not, you need to go back and look at what you're doing because there's better stuff you can do. Okay, so this is like super critical, right? You really want to, this is the top of your marketing funnel. You really want to like nail this offer and keep A/B testing until you get something really good. Okay, let's talk about recommendations. If you're emailing people, chances are they won't like the product you're telling them, even if they've looked at it. Most of the time they don't. So the thing you want to do is have a recommendation system built in to show them other products they might like. And you want to have that basically populate in your email. So where does this come from? This comes from your first party data that we mentioned at the beginning. So you want to use your customers' browsing history and your other customers' data to say, hey, you like A? Well, other people that like A also like B, C, and D. Because this is so crucial because this can increase your conversion rate. This can increase your conversion rate anywhere between 10 and 30%. Super, super important because it's like the salesman when the customer says, well, I like this, but I don't like this thing about it. Your system should be able to pivot and say, well, what about these things? And if you're not, you're kind of missing out on some revenue there. Okay, so now this was all talking about the automation. I want to switch over and talk about campaign emails for a minute and just tell you about what should be in your campaign emails. So this is like what you should have in your newsletter. These are the core emotional elements. You can have one of these things. If you have more than one, it's fantastic. You want to surprise, you want to educate people, you want to appeal to monetary things, especially in a time of like rising inflation and cost, how they can save money, provide entertainment value, or provide community value. Can you create any sort of community around your product? So the Honda Goldwing brand e-commerce store, they created a lot of community value around a community of motorcycle owners. Think about how you could create a community in your thing. So let's dive down into that a little bit. This is a typical campaign structure for B2C. So in roughly these proportions. So 30% of the time you're talking about your product launches, product features, stock updates, etc. Maybe 20% of the time you're talking about promotions, a specific product, you have urgency, scarcity, you have sales, you have a collaboration with someone. You then want to have loyalty, ask people to be brand ambassadors, VIP status stuff. Then you want to talk about relationships. You want to share your stories, you want to share your customer stories, that's really huge. And then, the last section is around education, right? You really want to explain to people how to best use your product, right? Make them feel smarter and more effective at their job or whatever they're doing with your product. That's a typical campaign structure. If you're not, how often should you email? As often as you can and be interesting, right? So what we do is we're providing this all of it, right? So we have like interesting emails that are going out many times a month. You can actually email a lot as long as you're being interesting to your customer and you have kind of a variety of like targets you're looking at. Okay, so hey, what should I talk about? Here's the hack. Use a holiday calendar. Not everything is going to make sense for your brand, but if you be sensible about stuff, right? If something is going to come as sounding off or like, oh, hey, we sell axles. Are there certain topics that maybe really aren't appropriate for us to mention in our emails that would kind of like offend our customers? Use your best judgment. But if you can think of a tie-in, use that time, right? So these are topics that give you kind of an excuse to talk to your customers. Okay, B2B is very different. B2B is much more performance-based. So these are just the levels. I'm not going to get too into it, but level 1 is table stakes. You want to have like, oh, do we have good ethical standards? Do we have acceptable practice? Level 2 is the functional value you're bringing to the brand, like your product quality, innovation, cost reduction. Level 3, so it's sort of a Maslow's hierarchy for B2B. Ease of doing business value. So are you saving them time? Are you making it reducing effort? So here we have like examples. So you're decreasing hassles for them. American Express is known for excellent customer service. There are different levels of ease of doing business. There's productivity, there's operational, there's access. In other words, availability, variety, configurability, etc. Hey, Jason. And the last one is relationship. Do you have a lot of expertise around your product? Are you committed to the space, for the long term? So these are all like a lot of different topics, and you kind of rotate through them. Again, want to make this super interactive. So if you have any questions about stuff, throw them in there. Okay, so getting class, what should you track? Very high level, there's a lot of stuff you should probably doing in e-commerce, but you should definitely have a full setup for Google Analytics, and your email system should give everything to you by workflow for your email automations. It's just like that sequence of emails, and then by email for the blast emails. You want revenue reporting. You want conversion rate reporting. You want open and click rate. You also want segment reporting. You want to understand what each segment of your business like. The people that like this type of car, like what do they make? The people that like men's clothes as opposed to women's clothes. How much is each segment contributing, so that you can talk to them and know who is the most valuable for you to talk with. The last thing is your segments are going to be super valuable for your ad team in terms of doing your marketing. So you really want to pay close attention to those and make sure you can easily export them for marketing. Okay, so next steps for you. You have the workbook. These are some questions to kind of ask yourself and start to like map out your strategy. You want to think about, okay, what are my customer buying patterns? What are my customer motivations? What do they really care about in my products? Do certain types of products go together for cross-sell or upsell? How many sales are from new and returning? Do I have different customer segments that make sense for me to like talk to them individually? Am I using a recommendation system? Could I put one in? Do I have all these automations set up? If so, that's great. If not, try to get someone to help me to put them in. So that is, kind of the really, kind of the big picture. I'm going to throw this strategy session thing into the chat. We are happy to go through any of this with you and like answer questions and just tell you what we do. Kind of walk through because a lot of this is a system, but a lot of it has to be like customized to you. And so whatever however we can be helpful, you can just click on that thing or the thing we sent in, and we are happy to help you. And now I'm just going to open it up because we have another minute or two before the end, and see if anyone has questions. So does anyone have questions? We'll just wait 1 minute for questions to come in. Okay, so we had one question come in privately, which was, how hard is this to implement? How much work do I have to do? I'm really kind of hosed. Yeah, that's a great question. It depends on kind of how full service, the agency is. In our case, we're a full service agency, so we're doing kind of all the back end work for you. But there are two kind of big parts to it. Basically, there's creating all the content for the automations, like the and then the second part is actually hooking it up to your email system. Sorry, not your email system, to your e-commerce platform, whether it's Shopify, Magento, or Viva, or whatever. So you want someone who is able to do sort of both of those parts, or you will have to do them yourself. But if you have people with expertise in it, it can generally be done in, like a week or two. Okay, let's see what other questions do we have coming in. Okay. See, okay, there was one question like, how do I tell if this is the right move for my business? It does seem kind of complicated. Basically, look at how much revenue you're making from email right now, right? So we said at the top, you could make between 30 to 50% of your revenue from email, right? So if you're making just 10% or less of your revenue from email right now, there's probably a lot of like room for growth there, and that's what you should consider using, a service to kind of help you out with that. So yeah, if you're not sort of performing at that level, you really want to consider adding in a system like this so that you can really use it. The other thing is just to take into account your ad costs, right? So if your ad costs are, if your ad costs are like 20, 30, 40% of your marketing budget, and your, Amazon is fairly expensive, and you're only doing like maybe a 2x ROI or a 3x ROI, and you're like, hey, this could be spent better. Email has a 36x ROI, meaning every dollar spent on email usually returns $36 in sales. So if you think about, where your ad budget can most probably spend, think about maxing out, email first. Okay, so that was a lot. I'm gonna wrap it here. Again, we're Risio. We would love to chat with you. If you're interested, just click on that schedule strategy session, or just click on the link in the slide, calendly.com/Risio/call. And thank you very much for your time.